Hi everyone, I'm Harv, Ian Harvey, founder of Collective Intelligence, and this is Stuff That Matters Now. Okay, welcome back everybody. I was going to say downtown Waipukurau, but it's just Waipukurau, talking to Stuart Ellingham, who is what are you, Stuart?
I'm now Managing Director.
Ooh, that sounds flash.
Really
Managing Director of Horizons Farming Company, which is offices here in Waipuk, and you guys are spread where? Mostly Hawke's Bay?
Yeah, so our southernmost farm's Woodville, and northernmost farm is at Ocean Beach, just outside of Havelock North.
Okay. And I'm interested to talk to Stu for a number of reasons. One, there's a wee historic element here. We were just fact-checking. Whoa, I'm not gonna tape over that. Stu was our first host with Collective Intelligence. We worked out it was about August or September 2008, and it was I wasn't facilitating then. You had another facilitator.
That's right.
And it was quite an epic meeting. And what I'm fascinated, Stuart, is if I look 2008 to now, man, you have been on a journey since then.
Yes, there's quite a lot of water gone under the bridge since then.
Yeah, and you know what? You've been through some bloody tough times, but it's been fascinating to see how you have developed from there, and you've evolved, and now managing director of this large farming company. Yep. Which has got the old family values and so forth, but is very much a modern, very, very modern company. So, Stuart, thank you for your time. When I first met you, you were farming in southern Hawke's Bay.
Yeah, that's correct. So I was farming on what was a family farm that I think I was fourth generation on that property. So I came back from overseas and started managing that property when I was 24. So pretty young to be into a full management mode. Some of that was a little bit forced with some stuff that was going on in the family, but jumped straight into the deep end and learnt fast.
Fourth generation. So do you have any idea did your family clear the land?
Yes.
Wow. So what year, any idea what year the Ellinghams?
It was late 1800s.
Okay, because it would be one of the later areas to actually be settled and cleared, wasn't it? It was heavy bush.
It was very heavy bush, yeah.
Yep. So good summer rainfall and all that sort of stuff.
Yep. So northeast of Dannyburg, so there was, it's a very strong country, steep, but pretty harsh, windy, wet environment.
Yep. And was your intention always to go farming?
Yeah. So I'm the youngest of three. So I've got an older brother and an older sister, and neither of them had the slightest bit of interest in going farming. But I always loved it. Loved being outdoors. Loved being on the farm. Loved animals. I never wanted to do anything else.
What did your brother and sister do?
So my brother is, funnily enough, an IT in Kerikeri at the Kerikeri High School. So he manages all the IT at that place. And my sister is a school teacher up in Hastings.
Right, so they got the brains.
Yeah, definitely.
And, I mean, it's interesting that, yeah, okay, so I won't go down that rabbit hole. So 24, you came home, they'd be reasonably isolating at 24.
Yeah, it's interesting. Isolation's never bothered me. I don't mind being alone, and I'm actually, believe it or not, actually slightly introverted. So being isolated and being alone, I just got on with things. It didn't worry me. And
so so 2008, when you joined Collective Intelligence, you were still farming in your own right at that point?
No, I changed then. So from 24 till the age of 37, I was farming on that family farm and loved every minute of it, and developed it and changed everything on there. I'm a fan of change, and got the farm into a position where it was pretty well developed It was going along really well, and I just got bored. It's the simple answer, and wanted to change.
And what did you choose?
So I'd been on a course over to Sydney and called the EDPPP course, which is a Rabobank course where it's called the Executive Development Program for Primary Producers. So basically it opens your world up a bit to what else is out there and what other farming systems are out across Australasia. Also taught you a lot about yourself. There was a lot of psychological tests, and which I thoroughly enjoyed actually. And I got home from that and I was mentally stimulated from that. And
What year?
That was in 2005.
Yep.
So 2005, 2006. It was a two part course. So you did a week over there, and then you went home, and then you did another week a year later. And then in 2007, I was sort of looking around and at stuff to do, and I got shoulder tapped to come and have a look at being the operations manager for Horizon Farming, which at that point had doubled in size overnight, and they'd gone from I think it was about 5,000 or 6,000 hectares to 14,000 hectares overnight, and they needed an operations manager. So I thought, wow, this is...
How did you do that? Was that through leasing land? And
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I sort of jumped into that with my eyes not open as wide as they should have been. And at that point, it was a business that was stretched from Wellington to Gisborne, 14 different blocks of land. So I was interacting with 14 different managers, bouncing around along the east coast and coordinating everything with those farms and managers. So
and you're not bored anymore?
No, it's far from bored.
And Stuart, that going into that role, that is a huge step. Was your farm part of those that system?
Yeah, so I leased our farm into Horizon, and so then I put a manager on my own farm managing it, so I was supervising my own farm, if you like, as an operations manager. So that's how I came to be a very small shareholder in Horizon Farming initially.
And what was it like overseeing your own farm?
Bloody difficult, if I'm honest. And it wasn't just difficult for me; it was difficult for the manager. And so I had to be very careful how I approached that, and probably learned a few lessons along the way. And of course, everybody does things differently from the way you do it, and sometimes it's actually better. And so you've got to have an open mind when you get yourself in those situations, and let people do their thing.
Yeah, it sounds easy.
Yeah, no, it's not.
So, Stuart, and we don't have time in this podcast, but that enterprise grew very quickly, and then it didn't. It had a few snags. Yeah,
so from 2008, well, actually 2007, right through to 2010, the business was very East Coast centric, and had a lot of large coastal properties that it was leasing, and there was 4 droughts in a row, and basically it burnt capital, to cut a long story short. And so financially the business got itself into a bit of trouble, and brought in some outside equity in the form of a family from Wellington who came in and initially bought a large majority shareholding. And I could see, and that was in 2008 when they first came in, and I could see at that point that there was going to be change. And I thought, I better stick around and just watch what happens here. This could be interesting. And in 2010, the business got to a point where more capital was needed, and the family said, well, we'll take it out, but actually we want 100%. And so that's what's happened. And then there was a major restructure in 2010, because obviously they wanted to restructure the business to stop the bleeding. And they chucked me in the hot seat and said, restructure this company and get it profitable. And so there was a lot of hard work in those
So that
years.
was moving from operations manager to the managing director, basically.
To the general manager initially, yeah.
Right.
So they put me in, or CEO, general manager, whatever you want to call it. So basically I was in an accountant, and I restructured the business and took that proposal back to the board, and the board said, right, go. And that was a bit of a shock.
That they agreed with you?
Well, no, it was a bit of a shock that they wanted me to do it, because I'd put the proposal up and we already had a managing director, and they just said, right, you're going to do this, and backed me, I suppose.
It's interesting because I remember that time well, because I was facilitating your team through that stage, and in hindsight, we can gloss over it, but I also know that there's a term, pissing blood, which I watched you through that stage, and that's what it was like, because it was, you had a culture, you had a company that had not a great name, your reputation was really not that great in the Hawke's Bay, and you were battling all sorts of headwinds with people not liking the company and thinking, so there's all sorts of stuff that you had to deal with.
I think I got a great piece of advice from a very experienced chairman at that point, as I was unloading to him, and he said to me, roll with the punches. That was all he said. And I walked away thinking, God, I need more advice than that. And actually, it was a great piece of advice. And I'm very good at not caring what other people think and just getting on with what I get on with. And I think that's actually a strength. And it's advice I give to others.
Yep, because a lot of the time, there's not a lot you can do about what people think.
No.
So, Stuart, the 14,000 hectares, when you took over this new restructured company,
yep.
What sort of size was it then?
Pulled it back to 5,000 hectares.
Yep.
So less than half the original size, and that was really hard, and I had a huge amount of negotiations going on with a lot of people, and probably the most difficult point was redundancies of staff.
Yep.
And these are people that I've been working with for 3 or 4 years, and I had to sit in a room with them and tell them they didn't have a job. And that was bloody hard. And probably the hardest thing I've done in my career.
Yep.
And, grown men crying
Yep.
in front of you, saying, well, I've got nowhere to go. And
Yep.
it's not easy.
Yeah. Yeah, and they've been through a tough time leading up to that, as it was.
Yeah.
So the resilience was
was
pretty low. And some of these will be mates too, weren't
Absolutely. I saw a lot of human nature in that 6 months to 12
Yep.
months. It was real education for me.
they? Yep. And Stu, so back to 5,000
Yep.
hectares consolidated, and from there, where has the business gone from there?
Yeah, so in a nutshell, we consolidated it back to a size that and also farms that we believed had much more strategic merit, and that's all about risk mitigation. We bought a couple of properties against the ranges in Hawke's Bay, which had higher rainfall, to offset the lower rainfall right on the coast. And we built a whole lot of more robust systems around reporting and finance. And then once we'd got ourselves into a position where we were performing pretty well, we then grew the business again. So from 2016 to 2020, we doubled in size again. So we've had a period of quite sustained growth over those 4 years, where we've gone from sort of just over 5,000 hectares to now we're at just over 11,000. So now we're at another point where we're consolidating. We're just getting things. And it's the same in any business that I see, is you have these periods of growth, periods of consolidation, look for opportunities, go again.
So and I'm just thinking that for the listeners overseas, because it's happening more and more now that we're getting more followers overseas, Horizons Farming Company farms what?
We're sheep, beef and deer operation. So we've got no dairy operations at all. We decided that wasn't our lane. So even we have looked at it at points along the way, but we've decided that, we've got expertise in sheep and beef, and we're learning pretty quickly with deer. So to put that in perspective on numbers of livestock we've got, 30,000 ewes, close to 2,000 cows, and then we might trade, we'll produce 48,000 lambs and 45,000 lambs, and we might trade another 10,000 above that, and we might trade a couple of thousand cattle as well. So that's the sort of numbers you're talking now.
And then the deer?
A deer are a small part of our operation. They're about 4% of our operation. Round figures 1,000 deer, and that's made up both breeding hinds and finishing stags, all for venison.
Yep. So, Stuart, and you now are not living in Southern Hawke's Bay, you're now living in Waipukurau.
Yeah.
So tell us about that transition.
Yeah, it was another hard decision in my life, really, was selling the family farm, which is considered sacrosanct. And I said before, I'm not scared of change. And I went through a process where the lease on our farm with Horizon came up. And Horizon, I was always conflicted, of course, because I was having a conversation with myself around lease prices. And so to take that conflict away, we decided to sell the farm completely and move and take any of our own land out of Horizon altogether. So we bought a property up near Waipukurau, and we're currently, that's around 600 acres that I also farm completely separate from Horizon. And
this is with your family?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So you're married with kids?
Yeah, so got a wife, Jude, and 3 kids, Jack, Hannah and Rosa. So Jack's 22, Hannah 20, and Rosa's 17.
And this must have been tough on Jude through this process?
Yeah, very. Yeah. She's put up with a lot, and we've come through it, and we're good now. It's good.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're good now. But
there were some tough times. I'm not going to hide that.
Yeah. And Stuart, that's going against the tradition of selling a farm that's been in the family for 4 generations. Yeah. Who did you have to discuss that with? Who do you have those conversations with?
Well, the main people was family. My brother and my sister, and my mother and father. I mean, they were the main people, and it was a conversation. I'm not scared to have difficult conversations, and it was, this is the situation, this is what we want to do, what do you think? And the reaction was really interesting. It was really positive. It was, well, it's your decision. If that's what you want to do, go for it. There was a little bit of nostalgia there, and a little bit of, but hang on, that's the family farm. I said, yeah, it is, but it doesn't fit with what I want to do for the next 30, 40, 50 years. And I'm not going to sit on this farm and farm it. It doesn't excite me, that road. If you want to farm it, come back and farm it. Fill your boots. Oh, no, we don't do that.
So what does excite you?
Well, look, I really enjoy the agricultural sector, and the thing I've really enjoyed about the change that I've done, going from a pretty closed family farm at the back of Dannyburg, is now touching all different parts of agriculture at the top end. I'm talking to the decision makers. I'm talking to people that have an influence on agriculture in New Zealand, or particularly in the sheep and beef industry. I'm talking, and that excites me. And not only in the sheep and beef industry, but also the people I'm talking to now on our board, and the tentacles they've got. It's just stimulating me.
And so, which part stimulates you?
I enjoy seeing the company being successful now. There's been a hell of a lot of hard work behind that, so that stimulates me. And I'm now branching out into other businesses and helping them as well, and other people. and sharing what I've learned.
So what does success look like on a farming business?
Well, I think it's got to be profitable. I think it's got to be environmentally sound, and I think it's got to have all the ethics that you would want in any business. Well, one of the things that's fascinated me in with the people I've rubbed shoulders with is that it doesn't matter what industry you're in, if you've got good ethics, eventually you will be successful. There'll be people in there that will try and screw you. There isn't any industry, but they won't succeed. They'll get found out.
And your shareholders and I don't know who's on your board, but you are now, I think, governed by people from non-farming backgrounds?
Yeah.
So you've got non-farmers on governing a large, sophisticated farming business. What's that like?
Oh, I think it's fantastic because there's no group thinking. It's everything gets questioned and understood, and why are you doing that? Why aren't you doing that? And so it opens your mind up to out of the normal thinking in the farming industry, and that's really that's stimulating too.
Yeah. So and they would come onto the farm from time to time?
Oh yeah. They have a house on one of the farms that they spend a lot of time at, which is great.
And what's it like showing them around the farm, showing non-farmers around Horizons Farming Company?
It's amazing how quickly they have picked up the business, and how much they've learnt, and how much they've understood the risks associating with farming, and what you can do to mitigate those risks. They're smart people, they're not silly people, and they'll pick things up really quickly, and they'll constantly bounce things off you, which is great. It's stimulating for me.
And so, the thing with farming is that risk mitigation is a huge part of that, and so they would bring those skills in?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
What other skills have they brought in that you weren't accustomed to or strong at?
I think governance skills. I think I've learnt a lot about governance being associated with them. I've learnt a lot about, they've got a massive business that employs literally thousands of people, so they understand how to manage people.
Yep. And
I've learnt a lot from that.
Yep.
And no business will ever be successful without very good people.
Yep.
They're your best asset.
And Stu, that sounds a bit twee, because you hear people say that, but you don't employ thousands of people unless you're actually good at it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Stuart, do you think it's an advantage having non-farmer directors?
In some respects, absolutely. I think it's the same. It's the same, and you said it in collective intelligence. It's about having diversity in the room to make decisions, and you will always get a better decision if you've got diversity in the room than if you've got group thinking. Because all people that are from the same industry and from the same backgrounds will come up with the same solution to a problem. And if it was that simple, it would have been solved already, wouldn't it? Yeah.
And it's interesting when you see these echo chambers and so forth, and people agreeing with them, and when you're not used to it, it's nauseating, and people just saying the same thing but using different words.
Yes.
You just go, shit, we're not getting anywhere here.
Yeah.
So what? So you talked about the environmental. I can't remember what the term you used. Environmental. It wasn't sustainability, but the rigour. Farmers have copped a lot of flack, Stuart, on being not great custodians of the land in the last wee while. There's been regional councils have been encroaching more and more on farmers' autonomy. You've got the Green Party, you've got Labour, you've got a whole wave of in this space, right?
Yeah, interesting. I've got a different perspective on this from a lot of farmers, but I can see why farmers have been defensive but actually they need to sit back and reflect on the noise that's coming at them, and if we're brutally honest with ourselves, farmers across the country, there's a bell curve, and the ones at one end are awesome custodians of the land, and there's some at the other end that are not. And if you look at some of the areas, sensitive areas that farming's pushed into, particularly in the dairy industry, and I don't want to pick on them, but they are in the limelight, they've gone into sensitive areas and they're doing practices that we shouldn't be doing. And I don't think many people would argue with that, apart from them themselves. And so I think practices do need to change, and this government's trying to legislate that. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but generally I'm a person that likes a carrot rather than a stick. And I see some of the work that's been done by the other end of that bell curve, who are superb custodians of the land, and some of the stuff they're doing is just phenomenal, and a lot of it is at their own cost. And this environmental work's expensive; it's not cheap. And it's really interesting. You talk about our board being more from an urban background. They're all over this environmental stuff, and we are too. And if we look at our business in the next 12 to 24 months, we're planting, just asked Bree before, 476 hectares of land into natives. That's the size of most people's farms, and we're excited about that. That's so cool.
And I'm just thinking about that, Stuart, because before you said the numbers, I'm going, I wasn't expecting that. As you say, that's a workable farming area and in natives, so that's not, you're not looking at an economic return. That's not like planting it in pine trees.
No.
That's been planted for the environment. For the environment,
and we're also really interested in where we sit in carbon neutrality. And as a business, we want to be carbon positive. And still the measurement systems on showing that are still being worked through. We're literally in a pilot program right now doing that. And one of the directives from our board is, let's find out where we are, and if we're not where we should be, we're going to get to where we should be. And so in the meantime, we're planting areas because there is a lot of funds out there available to help you do these areas. So we're into them. And it's areas, it's fast forwarding what we want to do with the land, probably by 30, 40 years.
And it's interesting you say the funds are there, but you've still got to do the work, and you've still got to front it with some money, right?
Yep.
So it's not as though it's free.
No.
So that is a carrot, Stuart.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's we talked about this before we sat down and talked, and you were sort of mentioned how I have been fairly critical of the farming industry, and as being an ex-farmer, because I get very frustrated when I've been to meetings last year, and these environmental meetings, and there's lots of fist banging at these meetings and so forth, and I'm going, oh fuck, get with the program, guys. This is not going to go away, and if Labour wasn't doing it, National would be doing it. Might be in a different way, but it's not. We have signed up to the Paris Accord. We have got a commitment to do this work. And the other thing is, I get frustrated with the farmers say, well, it doesn't matter what we do, we're so small. And I go, yeah, it does, because we can influence. We can show other countries what to do and influence them in other ways.
Yeah. And I used to look at that argument and go, well, yes, New Zealand can say, well, we're just a small pimple on the arse of a donkey at the bottom of the world and we don't have to do anything. But actually, wouldn't it be cool if we were leading the world? And actually, if you think about that further, the potential opportunities that will bring our country are enormous.
Yeah. And so let's flip the conversation to food production.
Yep.
Right? Because I also know some of the work you're doing behind the scenes on some really high-tech stuff on breeding programs and so forth, where you've got geneticists involved, and you are really targeting producing nutritious food, nutritious lamb.
Yeah.
So, just talk us through some of the things you're doing in that field.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, my view. I've been thinking about this because I knew you'd ask me something along these lines. If you think about New Zealand and its food production, and where we're going, we have to be focused on value, not production. And as a country, where we're just way too small to try and outproduce anybody else, and we'll do it at the expense of our natural resources, and we don't want to do that. So the focus has to be on value. And if you think about how we've come to where we've come to, as a country, we're so young, and actually our agricultural sector was set up as a farm at the bottom of the world to feed Britain.
Yep.
So basically, we were not sent, but people chose to come down to New Zealand and farm and just send all the product on a ship back to Britain, right? So there was no marketing involved. And actually, if you think about where our industry's gone in the last 100 years, it hasn't changed a lot.
Well, interesting, Stuart. I've produced lambs that went in whole carcasses to Smithfield and were unloaded from a ship and wheeled round in barrows as a whole carcass.
Well, it's happening in China now. There was a contract for 500,000 carcasses that went to China in the last 2 months.
Right.
So it's still there's this commodity mentality, and we've just got to get away from that. And to get away from that, we've got to have differentiation in our product, right? So
just to be clear, differentiate. So let's talk about lamb.
Yeah, okay. So we're talking lamb at the moment. Although we could talk beef as well, and potentially venison as well. But let's stick with lamb. So how do we differentiate lamb? Well, I get this. I've just had a bit of a biffo with beef and lamb on their generic marketing program. Well, to me, it's just a bunch of shit. You can't generically market.
So I must say, what's shit?
Beef and lamb.
Yep.
So that's the industry. I've got to be careful what I say. It's the industry body for New Zealand farmers.
Did you pay a levy too?
That we have a compulsory levy that comes out of our
Yep.
kill. Whenever you kill an animal, a sheep, 70 cents goes to beef and lamb.
Yep.
A cattle beast, $5.20 or something.
Yep.
Awesome.
So it's not a governing body. It's a what? They promote you guys.
It's a levy-funded industry good body.
Industry good. Yep.
Right. So at the moment, they've got one of their strategies is to generically market New Zealand lamb to the world. I mean, honestly, that's just ridiculous in my mind, and that's the conversation.
Because.
Well, A, they're not a marketing company. They've got no expertise. B, they've got no mandate to do that, although they believe they have. And C, they never own a product. How can you market anything when you don't own a product? So I just think it's silly, in my view. Hopefully I don't get too much kickback on that, but that's my view. So anyway, what we're doing is we are, as you say, working pretty closely with a geneticist on our genetics in our lamb to try and, well, we know we can differentiate it with eating quality and nutrition, right? So healthy as well as tasting good.
So you are, because I've got a wee glimpse into this. This is really complex stuff, right?
Yeah.
So what are you looking for in the makeup of the meat to make it more nutritious and those qualities?
Well, it's how the meat's made up and how much fat's in the meat and what type of fat's in the meat and what the ratios are, and it can get right down to a molecular level.
Yep. And this is intramuscular fat, is it IMF? Yep.
Yeah. So IMF's intramuscular fat, and so fat is what it's very high correlation to taste and juiciness and flavour and.
But fat used to be bad, sure.
Exactly. So as an industry, we've bred fat out of our sheep because we're trying to grow them fast.
Yep.
So to grow something fast, they grow more muscle. Think Arnold Schwarzenegger. So you're actually getting fat out of your animal with the way we've been breeding for the last 30 years. So we're taking the taste out.
Right.
And some people in the industry don't like it when you tell them that.
Right. So you are, and then from a production point of view, because the other thing I know is that there's a correlation there with animal, looking after the animals. That there's also a correlation there with survivability and all that sort of carry on.
Yeah. So for a female animal that you're overwintering outside, of course, on grass, if she's got a fat cover that she can take into the winter, she can use that fat cover as a reserve for those really tricky days where it's snowing or it's the feed, there's a feed shortage for that half of that day.
Yep.
She's got a reserve on her back.
Yep.
So there's an animal welfare aspect as well.
Yep. Because that's the interesting thing, Stuart, that farmers have forgotten or have never felt the need to market themselves to the rest of the New Zealand society, right? You've got Country Calendar, which is a cool program, and you see some stuff there, which is, generally really positive. But there are segments of the country who don't trust farmers. Excuse me. Sneezing out the left here. So and that trust has been come to the fore, with the use of drones, picking up stuff, animal activists, taking photos of dodgy practices and so forth. And some of them are historic, and some of them are out of date, but they're still hitting the press and being used on social media and so forth. Yep. And the farmer's image has been dented.
I agree. It has.
And however, wouldn't it be wonderful for farmers to actually get more urban people out onto farms and showing them the science, the animal welfare, the husbandry, the environmental work that's going on?
Yeah, I've got some views on that. I mean, I agree. If you think deeply about that, farmers intrinsically are introverts, and you asked me about it before. They actually like being isolated and like doing their own thing and being.
Yeah, 80% of farmers apparently are introverted.
Yeah,
which is
I totally agree.
Way off the charts. Yeah. To other professions.
So they're not the type. They've got this humble sort of. I'm just going to get on with what I do type attitude, and they don't want to sing from the rooftops. And I think that's why, you talk about social media, and it's a double-edged sword, social media. You talk about why isn't it farmers aren't marketing themselves, and I think the answer is because 80+% don't know how to and don't want to.
There's a younger generation coming through, though, Stuart, that might still be introverted, but they are more willing to tell their stories, I think.
Yeah, they're more savvy and they're more connected. I agree. But again, that's a double-edged sword. You've got to be careful with that because it could be misconstrued.
Right.
So you've got to be smart about how you do that.
Yep.
And I've had cases of young guys in our business putting stuff on social media, and I've had to say to them, "Oi, that's actually not very clever.
Right.
That could backfire tomorrow."
Yep, because anything out of context can look really dodgy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So all of this environmental work, genetic work, farm practices takes investment. How are the farms of the future, what are they going to look like as far as ownership structures or size and complexity? What are they going to look like?
It's really interesting. I mean, again, if you think deeply about where New Zealand agriculture has come from and the family farm type structure, it's getting towards, in my view, a crossroads as to that will become less and less of a ownership structure going forward, and part of that to me will be because it could end up with multiple ownership, and the succession of that multiple ownership gets harder and harder, and we see that in the Maori incorporation models, and everything gets diluted, and in the end, some people don't even know they own some of that company or business or farm or whatever.
Yep.
So I think that's the succession thing's going to take some some role in the future of ownership structures in New Zealand farming. The other thing I see is, and we talked about it before, the bell curve of farmers is getting flatter and wider, and the really, really good guys at the top end are getting further away from the average and the bottom. And those good operators will end up with more land. So I think you'll see...
Either leased or owned?
Yes.
Or in partnerships?
And I think the capital, if you think about where's the capital coming from, even today, if it's not a farmer buying a neighbour, and the dairy conversions are finished, so that fueled a lot of land purchases, but that's finished. So the capital at the moment is coming from outside farming, and it's coming from where the money is in the economy, where the wealth is. And so, some of it's coming from overseas as well that can get in and get a farm. But a lot of it's coming from wealthy people within the country that want to own land, and they want to offset some of the risk in their own businesses. There's
also some models. I know there's an outfit called My Farm over in the Manawatu where they're putting consortiums together to own farms, so people can own a share on a farm with smaller shareholding and so forth.
Yep. So that's another model. I think we'll see more of those types of models rather than family farm ownership.
Yep.
In the future.
So Stuart, what's it like? So you farmed land that had been in your family for 4 generations.
Yep.
And now you're farming land that your family are not involved in.
Mm-hmm.
Is the satisfaction the same?
Well, that's a great question. It's different satisfaction, I think, because I am still farming land in my own family, so I'm kind of got a foot in both doors at the moment. I was thinking about it yesterday that I've actually been through just about every part of New Zealand, every ownership structure you can have. I've been through, and all of them have got different positive points, and all of them have got different negative points. The thing about the family farm ownership is, and I've got a 22-year-old son who's keen on farming, and when I sold the family farm, I took a lot of flack from people saying, "What are you doing? You've got a son who wants to go farming." At that point, he wasn't sure, but my answer to that was, "Yeah, but now he can go farming wherever he likes."
Yeah,
there's no pressure on him.
Yeah,
and he doesn't actually have to go farming; he can do whatever he likes.
Yeah, and so he'll go farming because he really wants to, not because of family farm. I mean, exactly. You and I have seen lots of people that went onto the family farm that just should not have done it.
My father was a classic example. I mean, there was a lot of, and there still is today, there are people farming that shouldn't be farming because it's not their passion.
Because, the likes of your father would not have thought he had other options. He would have, that would be it. You've got to, because if he'd gone, it would have been seen as failure or down, or whatever, an outcast, not to take that opportunity. Yeah, it's interesting because I've had the same situation, Stuart, where I farmed my own land and I farmed land that I was the CEO of a farming company. And on the farming company, I just had a whole lot more toys to play with because of the scale.
Yeah.
And I used to remember sitting there where there were 330 paddocks on this place. It was like a giant chess set. And the stimulation of trying to manipulate... That's not a great word, is it?
No.
But to play around with that piece of land, God, it was stimulating. It really was. And to have the resources to put things in play, it was far more stimulating than I experienced on my own farm, which was smaller, constrained by capital.
Yeah, and that's what happens on smaller farms, is you end up farming a year for 30 years. Instead of farming 30 different years.
Yep.
And it just gets boring.
Yep.
And constraining.
Yep.
And I see people sitting there for 20, 25, 30 years, sitting there because their son's going to come home. And one of the conversations I had with Jude was, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sit here for 20 years for that. Life's too short for that.
Look, interesting you mentioned Jude, because when I got out of farming, it was interesting to see the response I got from other farmers and so forth, because I'd obviously gone a bit troppo, and that, how, you shouldn't do that. The other thing I saw were wives looking at their husbands going, you know what, darling, we haven't enjoyed this for a long time. Why are we still fucking around on this farm? And that's absolutely true. There are a lot of very unhappy couples out there repeating what they've always done, and I think there are people out there who have carried on doing it because they haven't developed other skills, or they don't have the confidence to go and try something else.
It was fascinating when I made that decision. People sat in two camps, right? So there was the camp that they were sitting in there, lazy boy, chucking stones at me, saying, you can't do that, I would never do that. And the truth is they're too scared to do it. And then you had the other people sitting in at the start of the race track going, awesome decision, shit, I think I might have a go at that.
Yeah.
And so it just divided all our people that we associated with.
Yeah,
it was incredible.
interesting, eh?
Yeah.
Interesting. Amazing. Yeah, because the thing that people don't, living in the rural sector can be, because you live where you work, surrounded by neighbours, and if you do something different, it stays with you. It's there as it's there with you. It's an interesting industry to live in.
It is, and look, don't get me wrong. There's some absolutely wonderful people that that work and work hard every day and farm, farms, family farm operations, and some of them are really good at it. Really good at it.
Sure, I'm going to chuck this question. What do you think of this regenerative farming stuff?
I knew you were going to chuck me that question. Interesting. Again, I've got an open mind on it. I've actually looked quite deeply into regenerative farming, and to me, there's a continuum, and people sit somewhere along that continuum as to what they believe regenerative farming is, and it's not well defined, and I don't think it needs to be defined. My view is that if you think about the history of regenerative farming, where it's come from, completely depleted wrecked soils in the United States and in Africa, and that's where the whole sort of movement is originated from.
And to be clear, it was copying the Dust Bowl of the Depression, right? That's how bad the soils were.
Yeah, that literally wrecked them. So this whole regenerative farming was born out of trying to regenerate those soils back into productive soils, and quite rightly so. And then if you try and transpose that thinking into New Zealand farming systems, you go, hang on a minute, our soils are a little bit different from those soils.
Our practices are different.
Yeah, our practices are very different. And actually, if you look at some of the philosophies in regenerative farming, we're actually kind of doing it already. But actually, there's a little bit more to it than that, and we should be looking at some of these practices that regenerative farming are promoting and go, have an open mind and go, actually, we could probably fit that in here. This could work. And why would we do that? What would be the purpose? Well, the purpose is pretty simple. What a magnificent marketing opportunity for New Zealand agriculture. No brainer.
And sequester carbon.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned that before with your forests and so forth.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not probably as far down the continuum as you are, and some people are way down further than you. But I'm also not at the other end going, fuck regenerative farming. It's for loopies that wear socks and sandals.
But the difference is you're farming 10,000 hectares or 11,000 hectares. I'm farming 8.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's right.
So let's put it in context.
That's
here,
right. And there's logistical issues there as well. So, but I think there's some middle ground that actually, to me, it's a marketing opportunity. And New Zealand should be grabbing it.
Yeah.
Because we do a lot of those practices that are promoted in regenerative farming.
I had this conversation with somebody the other day. I said, look, we'll do the Kiwi thing that we've always done. We'll take something, we'll bastardise it, and we'll rehash it and we'll do it our own way. We do it with the America's Cup. We'll take something and go, oh, yeah, okay, and we'll disregard everything that's been done before and, develop the yachts that run on foils, and things like that. That's just disregarding convention. And we'll do this with regenerative too. We'll take it and we'll make it our own. And the good thing is, Stuart, is it's not overly defined. And I think that's a good thing. And it's about... And, I agree with you. I think it is a form of it is really important, and I don't think we've got an option not to do it.
Yeah.
In some form.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just what that form is, and I think we're all still trying to work out what it is.
Yep. Yeah, look, it's. I interviewed Jules Matthews 6 months or so ago, who helps me on the farm, and I just cannot believe how ignorant I am when it comes to soils. It's just like, there's a whole lot of stuff going on down there. I've got no idea what's going on.
I think the high 90s percentages of New Zealand farmers are the same.
Yeah. It was just something you had to do at Lincoln, get a market but it was just, seriously, we had no idea. And look, I had a great conversation, and I won't mention his name, but he sends me articles to show me that regenerative agriculture is nonsense. And he said, see, this is, and I said, mate, that's just the establishment pushing back. And he said, what's wrong with the establishment? I said, well, your groundwater and Hawke's Bay's fucked, right? Not in all of it, but enough. And I said, that's what's wrong with the establishment. We have got to stop this happening and find different ways of operating.
Yeah, and look, I don't think science should be disregarded at all. I'm very much a science-based background and through Lincoln.
Which regenerative has also got science involvement.
Yep. And so I listen to the Doug Meads and the Jacqueline Rowiths of the world, who are very vocal about it, and good on them. But
the good thing is, though, I don't think they'll listen to this podcast. But anyway,
I'll try and get Jacqueline to listen. But I keep coming back to this is a marketing opportunity for New Zealand. This is how we can add value to our products.
Yep.
We're generally, in a general sense, we're farming animals in a safe environment where they're well looked after. They have a happy life until they have one bad day. And the food's nutritious and blah, and it's on coming out of farms that are using regenerative practices. I mean, you ask any farmer in New Zealand what he wants to do with his farm in his lifetime, and he says, I want to leave it better than when I got it.
Yeah.
But some of them don't know how to.
Yeah, interesting point. Do farmers like animals?
If they're good at it, yes.
Nice answer. Yep. I think back to my farming days. The only thing I really miss is a team of dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And that was on a good day too, because I've got a romantic memory of having a pack of dogs.
I was going to say there's quite a few bad days.
I was going to say it doesn't always go well, but I do miss that. And but it's also, I think there is nothing more satisfying than seeing livestock really performing well, nourished, and you're feeding them, the right way, and all that sort of.
They're
it's
happy.
Just wonderful.
They're happy.
Yeah.
It sounds like a stupid thing to say, but you can tell when your stock are happy.
Yeah. Interesting. Stuart, we've got 10 minutes left. Anything you want to round off on? Anything we've missed?
No, I was wondering how long it would take to get regenerative farming, but we've done that.
I've been nice.
You have been. You've been very restrained.
You know what? We've agreed on this podcast with a number of things. That's a new thing too.
That's positive.
Yeah.
I think I've mellowed a bit too. And I think I've got a lot broader than I was. And maybe that's an age thing, or maybe it's just who I'm interacting with now.
Yeah.
Which is positive.
And what? So what's your journey from going forward, Stuart? Are you going to stay with this industry?
Yeah. So I've got myself involved in quite a bit of governance now. So outside of Horizon Farming, I'm involved with. I'm actually a director of Atkins Ranch. So that's a lamb marketing company which markets lamb into the US. I'm also on a quite an innovative aerial top dressing board. And I'm also, I've recently been involved, this is something I want to talk about, I've recently been involved in a charitable trust that is setting up a training program throughout New Zealand for young farmers called Growing Future Farmers. So we've set this, there's a group of employers that got together, and it was driven by Dan and Tam Jex Plater up in Gisborne. And there's a real hole in our industry at the moment of skilled, trained young people coming in the bottom end. We've seen the demise of Taratai. The polytechs are a shambles. And there's not enough well-trained young people coming into our industry. So a group of employers have got together and led by Tam and Dan, and we're doing something about it. So we've set up this training program. We managed to get some primary growth fund funding, set up a 2-year pilot program, and we've now got 60 trainees on it throughout the country, from Southland to King Country.
And these are on farms?
These are on farms, so kind of think of it like an apprenticeship type scheme.
Yep.
So the farmers pay a sponsorship fee into the charitable trust, and that fee covers the housing and the feeding of the students on farm, and then they have a EIT course that they sit, which is an NZQA qualification that they sit throughout the year while they're getting trained on farm.
Yep.
By farm trainers, but also outside expertise.
And so the farms that take them on, they've got to be of a certain standard?
Yes.
Yep. So you know they're known for being technically strong?
We vet them.
Yep.
And often it's been fascinating, because not all good farmers are good farm trainers.
Yes.
In fact, often they're not.
Yes.
So you very quickly find out who the good ones are and who the good ones aren't, and we'll chuck the good ones aren't out.
Yep.
So that's our role, really, as a bit of a moderator of the whole program.
Yep.
And the feedback we're getting is very positive.
Yep.
You know, our constraint, if you like, is getting enough quality farm trainers.
Right.
We've got enough students. We're oversubscribed, and so if you think about, without us in the industry, what's the career path for a young school leaver who doesn't want to go back for his 7th form because he hates school, wants to be outside, wants to go farming? How does he do it?
Yeah.
At the moment, he can't. So this is a career path for someone like that.
So how do these kids find you, Stuart? How do they find?
We've got a website up called, just Google growing future farmers, and you'll find us.
Yep. And
we run open days, and it's a 2-year program, and those kids come out of that 2-year program with minimum 2 trained dogs that they've trained themselves and be taught how to train, all the skills of a young, experienced shepherd, and they'll walk into a 50 grand job straight away, just like that.
That's not a bad deal.
Mm.
And a 50 grand job with a whole lot of overheads covered as well. That's the other thing people forget. So one of the things I believe that for this younger generation is that they're not going to stay necessarily in an industry all their lives. And I've always believed that you train people up to be able to leave the industry.
Yep.
And if you do that, then you'll just create a draft and more people will come in. And it's something I've often been critical of the farming industry, is go train them up so they can transfer, so they don't get stuck on farms when they're 55 with crook bodies and they don't know what else to do.
Mm. Interesting. We've got a people development policy in our own company, and if a young shepherd's been with us for more than 2 to 3 years, our viewers, we've employed the wrong one.
Right. Right. Yep. Yeah, where once upon a time people were grumpy when somebody moved on, thinking, well, I'll put all that time and effort into them, and going, well, somebody else is training the next person coming on too.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, you have softened, Stu. Mm. Oh.
It's called maturity, isn't it?
Oh, I'm a bit worried. You haven't become vegetarian yet.
Some people would totally disagree with you that I've softened.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know that it's still there. And Stuart, I did enjoy, being a small part of that journey, because you were in collective intelligence for 10 years and seeing that transition, you coming through. And I look back at 2008. And I remember the support that you got right back from that first day, and we can't go into specifics, but going right back to that first date, and then I facilitated the next meeting in Wanganui. That was the beginning of 2009, and I remember it really clearly, and the team encouraging you to reposition and get yourself ready, because they could see the opportunity coming at that point. It was funny, they could see it as clear as well, and said, get yourself sorted, this opportunity is going to turn up on your lap, and it did. And I always think that was a group of dispassionate people not involved in agriculture, but they knew exactly what they were looking at. And yeah, well done on actually taking that opportunity.
Yeah, well, collective intelligence at that time in my life was integral. It was because you get lonely in a CEO role, and to bounce off people that have either been through it or are going through it or about to go through it, as you say, from different industries and different backgrounds, and they all say the same thing. You should probably listen. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Stuart, good luck for the future, and stoked to hear about that charitable trust. I didn't know about that. Good luck with the journey with Horizons. 400 and something hectares of natives. That's a bloody big effort, and I look forward to seeing where we end up next.
Cool.
Thanks, Stuart.
All right. Thanks, Al.
You've just been listening to an episode of Stuff That Matters Now, brought to you by Collective Intelligence. I hope you enjoyed listening to the fun stuff, the rugged stuff, and the complete stuff-ups that have helped this particular Collective Intelligence member evolve while making the world a better place. Do check out our Stuff That Matters Now podcast series on your favourite podcast provider, or visit our website www.collectiveintelligence.co.nz to get links to new episodes. Contact us if you want to learn more about how we can help you evolve yourself and others. Thanks for listening.